Welcome to a Delco Nerd Network podcast. I am your host, Anthony Ragucci, and here with a few friends in the Delaware County area. We get into a basement and we talk about a certain topic. Today's topic is going to be HBO Max's Black Canary and Green Lantern Corp projects. Here to discuss, as always, the triple threat. You know him. You might love him. Chris Tria.
You better fucking love me. No, I'm kidding. Gooch, what's going on? It's almost like we just did a podcast.
Yeah, you can check our Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi?
Yeah, sorry.
No, Legend
of the Ten Rings.
I'm just doing it to be a jerk
hot
at this
take.
point.
Up on YouTube and whatever podcast service you could be listening to.
That's the one.
Right now. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and leave us a comment.
Or hit the like button. I really think
let
that
us know what you
too.
think about some past podcasts or even your takes on Black Canary and the Green Lantern Corp.
You know what we never did on fucking Shang-Chi?
What?
We never gave our Luke Kenny rating.
Oh, we fucked it up.
We did. I had the thought in my head too. It's all right.
Shit. We got to remember to do that.
No, I know.
Anyway, it's all right. But before we jump into our topic this month, what we like to do is we like to talk about what is going on. And for the first time ever, we kind of talked about it before, and sometimes we sit down and we're kind of like, what the fuck
have we been doing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
no, it's true.
We're kind of going off the head last minute,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, I was like, why don't I just write what I'm doing down?
Yeah.
And I feel like we have a list, and I can easily just
truthfully,
go through
I'm
it.
usually just replaying things too that I've already played. So and then there's the stuff of I'm playing Red Dead all the time, still most of the time.
And usually for this list, I mean what
What's
new
new?
show have I
Exactly.
watched? What
Yeah,
new
yeah.
movie have I watched? What new games am I playing?
Yeah.
So, do you want to go first? You want me to go
So
first?
you know what? I'll go first if you don't mind.
Fuck yeah, man.
You just jump right in. So I actually watched the documentary on that Theranos lady. Have you heard of this? The whole blood machine thing?
Yeah, I know about it.
Super fucking interesting. They actually just started the trial for her this week. I think it's Out for Blood or something. It's called. It's on HBO Max. It's a documentary. Fucking mind-boggling stuff. Truly, I would highly recommend it, especially when it comes to I'm not usually the biggest documentary person, but I kept hearing about the story and I was like, sounds very interesting, and it just is. Like I said, it's mind-blowing to see that this kind of stuff happen. But without getting into spoiling too much, but I mean, if you look it up, it's a very well-known story.
Documentary. We already know what happened.
Well, some people might not know much about it. You can because you don't know. I mean, you can probably gather from
what
it.
documentary I kind of want to watch? That 6-part 9/11 documentary.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. I was thinking, is that the Spike Lee one? Or
I don't
is
know.
I know he did one recently.
Someone said
he
it
had
was
to
on
take a
Hulu,
bunch of stuff
but
out.
I think it's on other stuff. I was like,
I'd have to give that a watch for sure.
It's a 6-parter.
But
9/11 was yesterday. As of
the
recording
20th anniversary was.
Yeah.
But other than that, I got a Quest, an Oculus, which has been a lot of fun.
What made you want to buy that?
I've been hounding for it forever. And,
Really? I don't think
I
you've
just want
ever talked about
no,
it.
it's always been at the back of my mind. I'm like, I would love to get something. I've been seeing all these Quest games and all that stuff, and I love Super Hot. I loved when we played at Tim that one time ages ago. And
Did you get Super Hot?
yeah, come on. I got that. I actually got this one called The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, which is actually really
I've
cool.
heard of it.
I was playing this one also called Red Matter, which was really interesting and cool. Overall, I got to say so far I'm really liking it. And it works very well. I mean,
When am I coming over?
oh, as soon as possible. I only got the 128 gigabyte one instead of the 230, which so far I'm not mad about at all. I mean, the largest game I've gotten was
it's 180 to 230?
or to 250. I'm sorry.
That's not a huge...
No, I'm sorry. It's 125 to 250. So doubling it if you wanted to.
That's still that's...
But I mean...
That's kind of a weird...
Super
for a
hot is
game
2 gigabytes. So the large,
it?
yeah, the largest game
They must have optimized.
Well, the last
sizes.
game
That's weird.
the largest game I have is that Walking Dead one. I think it's 8 gigabytes, 8.5.
Wow. Okay.
And that was a $40 game, whereas the other ones were only 25.
So you buying them from the Quest store?
Yeah, you download it's connected through your Facebook account and stuff like that.
No, a lot of people were
Which is
pissed off about
weird, and I don't understand.
Yeah,
But
it was everyone's reaction.
it's
I
like,
remember
what are
that.
we
It's like,
doing here?
Why do we have to have a Facebook?
yeah,
account
to
with
do
Quest?
this.
It's okay.
But yeah, I would highly recommend. Red Matter was cool. It was this puzzle game where you're on Jupiter trying to figure out what happened to this space station, and this stuff kind of starts to go down. It ended a little bit abruptly for me, but overall it was
you
very
already beat
cool.
it, so it's that
yeah,
short.
Yeah, it's pretty short. Again, only $25.
I'm trying to think of what VR games I feel well, Moss isn't on there.
Yeah, I've been meaning. See, there are certain games where I was like,
PSVR game.
man, I would love to play like fucking Squadrons in VR or something like that, and like that you can't do that, unfortunately. But overall, man, I think for the money, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a great just kind of distraction gift just to hang out and just fuck around with. What have I been playing on the Xbox? Not much, to be honest. I started KOTOR again for obvious reasons.
Yeah, we got the remake.
Yeah, we got the remake coming, and it's at least 3 years out. So I'm like, I'm gonna.
I would say 4.
And I'm being generous.
I think this
3.
project is so early on that.
Again,
like, that
why are you telling me about this, guys?
So,
wait.
To grade that conference real quick, we should have led with God of War.
Sure.
And we should have ended with KOTOR.
I agree.
KOTOR should have been the last thing.
I don't think they should have even told us about KOTOR.
Because, like, you know what's funny? Like, we got the Wolverine, an Insomniac Wolverine game, and I'm like, I wasn't like, like,
I kind of was.
it's cool, but like, I'm like, okay, that's already in the vein of something we already have. It's like, okay, like, we're jumping off the success of like the Spider-Man
Marvel
game.
universe
it's
that
like,
they're
all right,
creating,
that makes sense. Like, KOTOR was kind of like like,
No,
yeah.
that was, and I mean,
And
again,
even
I've
God
been
of War,
seeing.
It's like, okay, we know this game existed. Like, we kind of knew we were gonna get
Even
something
Spider-Man
about
2, same thing. Like,
Right,
the only, like, again, with KOTOR, I don't understand why companies feel the need to just put out, like, a proof of concept now. Or something like that. Like, they're just like, let's just put out a cool video of Revan walking out and igniting his lightsaber, which, don't get me wrong, got me hard as a rock. And I was excited.
But like, look what Dead Space is doing. I was surprised they did a dev live stream and like, okay, like, you know, this is a remake game, but like, here's what we're doing to the dismemberment system and how it's going to be really like, not I was gonna say innovative, but maybe that's not the right word. But innovative, like we're gonna change it up. Like we can do more with the technology, and that was like a big part of like what people loved about Dead Space is dismembering the necromorphs, yada yada yada. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I'm like, kind of cool to like bring us into the behind the scenes look of that.
And that's like a remake that there's I feel like so much more of a straight path to what that game is to what the remake is going to be.
Nobody was really asking for a Dead Space remake.
No, but like again,
looks cool.
No, it does.
And I just played the first one last year. I'm gonna jump into 2 in October.
But I will say, like with that game, the gameplay still holds up relatively well in my opinion.
Yeah,
I mean, visually it's not
even a year ago.
Visually it's not amazing still. Like it still doesn't look terrible by any means. I still think it's pretty great. But like whereas that's going to be I feel like a lot easier to directly translate those combat systems and the way things worked to that remake and have them still hold up well. Whereas with KOTOR, that's like
it's old.
It's old and it's set up almost in the way I saw someone mention this in our Discord in the way of like how your Dungeon and Dragons characters are set up. There's a lot of stuff going into your skill points, your like your skill trees, and then you have all these different abilities you can do. There's so many different force powers you can unlock.
I really hope they don't make it an action game.
I think they are. Because all these rumors, I remember I mentioned this in the group chat months ago. I was like, it's going to be this Aspire people. I've been seeing this everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. They're talking about how it's going to be fully action this time. I could never see them doing the point and click again.
I think it's upsetting that we're moving away from turn-based because I think turn-based is such a valuable genre that I feel like a lot of people don't like. But like in Discord, we're talking about Dilly D's brought up the fact that like yeah, like look at Yakuza. Like the latest Yakuza is a turn-based game, and I feel like that Yakuza game did way better than any other Yakuza game that's come out. I'm like, there is a market and a value for turn-based games.
But do you think that market they were bringing in new people with that, or was that all Yakuza players who really like? Do you think that's just like the crowd that likes Yakuza is buying?
Well,
like,
one, it was like a next-gen launch title.
Sure.
So I think that was bringing in people. I'm not sure. I don't know. Again,
because I
I'm not a
unfortunately
Yakuza
do
player.
think the turn-based combat does turn off your Joe Schmoes and you're kind of like regular
you fucking uncultured swine.
But yeah, again, I'm very curious to see how they treat that. I'm curious to see if we get like a full character creator in that.
Did we in the original?
No, you kind of so you could customize.
I've never played KOTOR, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. Trio obviously has.
I played like 8 times.
I'm looking forward to playing this, and like when we sit down, it's gonna be like usually it's me with all this like background. But,
this is definitely gonna be the one where I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna scrutinize the fuck out of that game.
Yeah,
and
it's gonna be like, okay, this is my first time through, and like I don't really have any expectations or bias from the one back in the day.
I'm so curious to see what that game is going to end up looking like. And I saw one quote that made me very hesitant from the game director. What was like, we're gonna update the story for contemporary times. I was like, don't do that.
So what's
does that mean?
What's in the game that is not PC?
That's what I'm thinking, and I can't think of anything off the top. It deals with Wookiee slavery at one point because you go to Kashyyyk, but like they do that in fucking Fallen Order. So like I don't even know. Like that,
I don't think
that tips me in the way of I'm kind of afraid of what they're gonna do.
That's some weird language.
They should not be touching that story whatsoever. It should be the exact same story that we get. And so I will say, I guess they can make tweaks in the way of what they want to keep canon. But I think the baseline there, and if they get rid of worlds and stuff like that, that is really going to turn me off.
So I feel like this is a very relevant or similar situation to Final Fantasy VII Remake. So in the beginning of Final Fantasy VII, you have this part where you go to a place called Wall Market. Wall Market's kind of like, imagine Vegas. I was going to say, but scummy, but I guess Vegas is kind of scummy in a way. Imagine it's Vegas, and there's this guy named Don Corneo, and he runs like he like picks women up off the streets and like turns them into his brides and is like sex slaves and like that, like, and everyone's like, oh man. Remember that part where you dress up as a girl as Cloud and like Don Corneo wants to fuck you, and like how are they gonna do that? and everyone's like, it's like kind of like a.
Did they end up just taking it out?
No.
Oh, it is in there.
It's in the game. Huh. You you dress like you do all this stuff and like you go to the Honeybee Inn. That's where you get like dressed up as a girl. And it's like a dance club, kind of like a burlesque kind of environment.
Sure.
Like all the girls are dressed up as like bumblebees and shit.
Nice.
And like you get like with the leader of the club, his name's Andrea, and he's like obviously like a very androgynous guy, and like you essentially like he's like, I'm gonna like, you know, you need another person to infiltrate. So the reason why you're doing this, long story short, is one of your party characters, Tifa, is essentially like getting captured on purpose to infiltrate Don Corneo's palace.
Sure.
And another party, like you're basically, both of you are like, oh, like we need to get in there too, because like we don't know what's gonna happen to her, so we got to get in there. Aerith is another party member. She's a girl, obviously, so she can get dolled up and stuff. Yeah. But like Cloud is a guy, so like to infiltrate him, they like. Andrea's like, okay,
cross dresses.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's this very dramatic scene where like they do his makeup like on stage. It's like hilarious. And like he comes out and he's just like walking like hands. He's like, don't say anything to me.
I don't want to hear it.
It's really funny. And like you get in the dungeon and like Tifa's like, who's this? And like, and he's like, it's like, and Aerith's like, that's Cloud. And she's like, Cloud? And Cloud goes, I know, nailed it, moving on. Like it's good. Really funny.
I know, nailed it, moving
and
on.
Like based on certain decisions, like Cloud can be the one who gets picked by Corneo, and like he just is attracted to him. Like and they kept it in, and I gotta give it to them. They made it better than it was in the original. And again, this is like a PS1 game. This is even older than KOTOR. And I'm like, you know, obviously I don't think there's anything to that level in KOTOR, but like they still kept this really like not politically correct thing in the game and like did it in a very like tasteful,
respectable fashion,
right. And it's like, it's not like, it's still kind of weird, but it's very charming. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what they could mean by we need to update this for current day audiences, because I don't understand what needs to be updated truly in KOTOR. I think that story is one of the strongest aspects. That's one of the reasons I come back to that game time. I'm about to replay it again, because I love it so much, because I think they did such a great job with that story. And just the twist at the end, which, listen, if you don't know the twist for KOTOR, do your best to keep it low. You don't?
No.
And
I just know, like, Revan is the main bad guy.
Yeah, so...
Like, I don't really know much about him.
Stay away from all that, because it's an amazing reveal by the end. And it's, again, like I said, it's why I keep coming back to that game, and why that, even with the I'm going to send some Snapchats tonight of the fucking hilarious gameplay, because it is just so goofy, and the animations are hilarious. But for the time,
it looks amazing. It's like first games,
yeah.
Besides Jade Empire, like they made that, and like they wouldn't have gotten Dragon Age and Mass Effect, and like that's kind of where they are, and I'm kind of glad they're not remaking it.
You see the preludes to Mass Effect in this game with the party system, with how they act,
same thing
and
with
like
Dragon Age. I bet. Dragon Age Origins is much more in line with like your typical RPG, whereas Mass Effect, I think,
it was more action.
Differentiates itself from those like more mainstream RPGs or that RPG style.
But overall, there was a lot of cool games out of that PS Showcase. But I still don't have a reason to get a fucking PlayStation for the next 3 years. So
I mean, dude, don't you want to get Deathloop?
that truly
I can't
is.
believe they had a trailer for that. And
That truly
I was
is
just like,
the
dude,
one
it comes
thing.
out in like a fucking week. How much more gameplay do you need to put out for this?
It
And
feels. I feel like it's Sony.
And I feel like it's Arcane. Every title they put out is like a sleeper hit, and I feel like they just want people to know about Deathloop.
No, and I hope
Like,
that. And again,
you
you're
love
right.
Prey.
Like, Prey truly is, like I've said it before, top 5 games
And some
of all
people in
time
the
for me.
Discord, it's the same thing about Prey.
Yeah, like people sleep on Arcane. They do. So maybe that's a very fair point, and maybe they are really trying to drive home that this is something different and cool. But you're right. I saw a tweet. It was kind of funny. It was like, I think Deathloop was shown at literally every PlayStation showcase since it was announced.
I'm pretty sure it was.
And so now that's a timed exclusive too. So that'll be
Yeah.
on Xbox in the next, because
KOTOR is
it's funny.
also
It's
a timed
an
exclusive.
which is
Weird.
that does
Because it was on
that
on
bugs
Xbox.
that bugs the shit out of me.
Yeah,
that
it's
really
kinda
does.
weird.
Like, and I can't.
I think that's Sony and like
No, it is. Sony came
Disney.
in and flashed some fucking bucks and was like, and listen, I can't necessarily be mad at them. That's a good business. That is, you know what? That's gonna make me get a PlayStation. Absolutely. If all this other stuff wasn't coming out, thank you. You're giving me a reason to get a PlayStation. But just looking back, like I said, it was a PC Xbox exclusive at the beginning, so that does make me sad that like some Xbox users will be stuck without it. But yeah, again, a lot, and then still God of War being cross-gen, it does make me sad. And it doesn't look that like
No,
It
that was
doesn't
my
look that
critique.
different.
I'm like, this looks very similar to what we
this
got.
looks like it's more of what, and which is fine because God
Which
of
is
War is
fine.
amazing,
Right, which is
but
fine.
like
but it
gameplay
yeah.
wise, just HUD wise, everything looked very like this is, and obviously it's a continuation, it's a sequel, but
and it's our last one, which
And
I'm
the-
also hype
well,
about.
in the Norse, they said in the Norse setting,
right.
so
But that still like means like
which
okay.
blows my mind. Yeah, so and I guess
That's
that does
cool.
mean they're going somewhere else.
Yeah,
after.
I don't really want a 10-year trilogy like they did again with the original God of War. Like that took like 10 years.
Yeah, no,
to-
I mean, I definitely
maybe
was
maybe like 6 or 7.
I was
to kinda
definitely
finish.
expecting them to do a trilogy. for
Yeah,
some-
I think
like, what-
most people were. I think
was kind of
trilogies
expecting-
are the hot thing to
Yeah.
do. You know, you do 3 games and
I think he's gonna die at the end of that, the second one. I think
Really?
Kratos is gonna die, and I think you're gonna play as Atreus if they continue the God of War moniker in any way.
Okay.
I think it would be a very meaningful way to do it, in my opinion. Like, him almost getting away again seems a little bit too easy.
On the
I don't
nose.
know, and again, if they pull that off, I think that could be an Arthur Morgan / John Marston type of death that like really could hit home. But yeah, but even just like the way, like I was expecting Atreus to be a little bit bigger or to be a little bit more grown up or something. I don't know. I don't know. Do we know how long after that set? Like a year or two, right? I think they said.
I mean, the actor who plays Atreus has probably grown up.
No, he
little bit.
absolutely has. Yeah, I mean his
so
voice
they're
is
probably
definitely
trying
deeper.
to match that. I would say 2-3 years.
I think they. I could have sworn I saw someone on IGN that they like did say it was like 2 or 3 years too. So that would make sense.
right.
But what do
I
you-
think our first scene,
Will it be that Thor battle? I think that's the first scene.
right, or that scene was supposed to be like 2 or 3 years later. Oh no, it is 2 or 3.
That's
years
what I
later.
thought. Yeah, it says
Yeah.
years later. Yeah, he should. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What have you been playing, Gooch?
I got a few things. I guess. Well, now I'll just go down my list. So, I finally got the Borderlands 3 second season pass. This is the director's cut content. Why they call it director's cut, I don't know.
That seems to be the new
and
fad.
boy, what a cash grab this was. So obviously, if there's a game with achievements that are in DLC, I'm probably most likely gonna get it. And I just kind of waited on this, and I was like, yeah, this probably isn't that good. And boy, it's not good. They add like a battle royale single player mode, and I was just like, what is this? And like they add like new quests that are just kind of stupid, and like a ball and like a big end game boss, and I'm just like, Borderlands 3 could solidified how just disappointing this game ended up
Well,
being.
and especially after just being in development for so long, and I feel like, and not even in development, but for being so long waited in a way of something like.
Yeah, there was a lot. There was a
get,
big gap between 2 and 3.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but that sucks to hear. But
Yeah, that DLC content, I was like, all right, it got my achievements, I'm out. This sucked. Like, don't spend the money. Like, I think I bought the season pass for like $20 or something like that. It was on. It's a $30 like DLC. I'm like, this is not worth 30. This isn't even worth $20. Like, fuck 2K, fuck Gearbox for putting that behind a paywall, putting a second season pass. Like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I also started Mass Effect 3 Legendary Edition. I love Mass Effect 3 is my favorite. And like I start off playing that game with like that exact sort of sentiment where I'm just like, dude, there's no game that like kind of like builds that story into a culmination like Mass Effect does. Like the stakes are so high, everything means something, like everything, like, you know, the fate of the galaxy is like on Shepard's shoulders. And I think that's why I like 3 over 2. That's a really unpopular opinion.
Is there a canon ending?
No. But the question is, when the next Mass Effect comes out, will there be a canon ending?
I mean, there has to be.
Yeah, there kind of
right?
has
Like,
to
I
be.
mean, there's like,
right.
I don't know how you continue that story without giving that a definitive answer.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in that. I guess
Especially with
the
those
way around that
characters
with
coming back.
Andromeda was it was a totally separate galaxy, right?
Right.
You're in the Andromeda galaxy. Yeah.
Yeah, the story was like a company called the Andromeda Initiative, like essentially like sent people to Andromeda. And they were gone before Mass Effect 3 started. So before the Reapers came, and then like you wake up like 250 years later, and like
you have no idea what. Yeah.
right, you like there's some like loose threads to some stuff, but it's kind of just like like no, this isn't what makes Mass Effect good.
No.
Like those characters and that story and Shepard's kind of legacy, and I'm like I can't wait to beat the game, but like I fucking love Mass Effect 3 out of all of them.
Did you punch that reporter?
Nah, I don't punch her.
Damn it.
I play a straight Paragon Shepard.
So that's another thing.
That's like my only way to play.
But again, that's so funny to see in Codes where you get the light and the dark side alignments, and that gives you different. Than like to see that go even into the Paragon Renegade thing. It's funny.
I also played the Ghost of Tsushima Iki Island DLC. Very disappointed.
Yeah, you were telling me that.
It felt a lot to put it simply. It felt like the Spider-Man DLC. More of what you had, more of what you like, but doesn't really do anything for me.
Do you think it's worth $10?
It's $20. Do I think it's worth?
No, that's with the upgrade.
No, $20
When I went
for
to
the
buy
DLC.
it on PlayStation 4, it was
Here we go.
$10.
Is it?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yes. That's what it was. Yeah.
But
That's what I was
Casey yesterday was like, no, it's 20 in our group chat.
I mean, maybe I'm misreading it or something because
the
it's
DLC is $20. The upgrade is 10.
yeah. Even the
Packaging
stuff like,
$30 upgrade.
Sony, you suck dicks. Anyways, no, like even that thing with like the Horizon Zero, like I know Penza brought up that they were like, the idea is they're making these two completely separate, like, I guess, like they're making the PlayStation 5 version and the PlayStation 4 version separate, and that still just doesn't line up to me in the way of like I'm still like some faster, like there's nothing, you can't put out a game on cross-gen and have anything of consequence be different. Like in a you can't have with a God of War have some type of major story element that they could do on a PlayStation 5 and just not put it in the PlayStation 4. Like, so these are the same games, whether or not they're building them on separate systems.
Yeah, I think it is cheap.
Like, I think it's just, again, it innately makes those games not as good as they could be. And it's sad, especially with something like God of War. Like, that's the one that really kind of made me, like, go, like, are you fucking kidding me?
You know what's funny? The next one on my list, so I've been jumping into the Godfall DLC and update that came out. They added some trophies.
Well, isn't that back gen now?
It's the same. They're the same thing, just the opposite.
Like,
it did so bad, they released it on PS4 to get it to more people. And it's just like, Sony, you guys are fucking dumb. Fucking dumb.
like, again, even if they want to stick with
Dullards trio.
sticking with
Dullards.
the $70 price tag, I get. You want to update it. And you know what? If you want me to upgrade to the PS5 version for $10, I don't really love it, but that kind of makes more sense to me. But when you're saying that, like, you're doing enough,
Smart delivery, man.
you're doing enough to
what a-
make me buy this game a
essential.
second. Like, imagine, and like, I can't, I was listening to a podcast, it was probably Sacred Symbol or something. They were talking about this. Imagine not being it, like, you just can't get a PlayStation 5 right now. So, okay, I'm going to buy God of War on my PlayStation 4. And then if I want to play it on my PlayStation 5, I got to buy it again for $10 more? Get the fuck out of here. Like, that's insanity.
Yeah.
But again,
The way Xbox is doing it, and I love how everyone like questioned it at first. It was just is like
So
it's
much
a
easier.
superior way, and that's another reason why I'm like the Xbox is better than the PlayStation, because with the Xbox you don't have to deal with any of this.
I think
bullshit.
that aspect is absolutely better. Yeah. Like, I think that's, like, it's not even a sort of competition. And Sony needs to figure that shit out.
Going back to the Godfall of it, like again, like Godfall was like kind of a DOA game. It kind of like didn't do much of anything. It looked cool, plays good. The DLC is again, I don't know what's up with Sony developers and their DLC that is just like, it's more of the same of the game. It doesn't do anything. It's just more end game content and more like expands the story a little bit. And it's just like
I'm not.
I beat it in like a few
Island
hours
sounds like
and I'm
exactly what I. If it's more ghosts, I'm completely fine with that.
Yeah.
And if it's a cool story and interesting thing, like that works for me. But like, again, even $20 isn't terrible. And if like, how many hours did it probably take you?
Iki Island?
Yeah.
6, 8.
Yeah. So
It's not huge.
Not
You know,
huge,
it's
but
another.
yeah.
It's another map.
yeah.
Is what it is. And I'm still going through Godfall, but again, it's like not even too much to talk about. I've been playing Resident Evil Revelations. Revelations has that, you know how like 8 has mercenary modes? They have a mode called Raid Mode, which is essentially like multiplayer score attack, and essentially it's just like, here we go. I gotta go play like a dead game that nobody's playing, and like it's co-op based and it's kind of difficult. But through the internet, you find the communities of people, like the rare people who still play this game, but they're like fucking elite at this game, and they have everything and they know everything.
And they know
so I'm essentially like doing some of it on my own, but getting carried through this multiplayer, essentially just to finish the trophies off. And this is what you have to do when you go back to old games. And again, it's like a score attack thing. It's not terrible, but like no one's playing it.
Yeah.
So like this is what I got to deal with. 2 more things. I started Life is Strange True Colors yesterday. Really enjoying that. So this Life is Strange is coming out by Deck 9. Deck 9 didn't make the original.
Okay.
They made the Before the Storm prequel. So what's the studio called? Don't Nod made 1 and 2. Deck 9 are like making the spin-off Life is Strange's. But I am enjoying this game. I didn't really like 2. I'm on chapter 2. Shit's kind of hit the fan at the end of chapter 1, like most of Life is Strange's do.
Yeah,
it's like they start out and it's like, yeah, and then it's like, oh no, here we go.
Yeah, those games never really tripped it
twist?
for me. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
like, I never really was like.
I can understand people not liking it. They're very slice of lifey. They're very with like this like fantasy edge to it, and it's like that kind of like drives the plot and like what's going on. Like in the first game, it's time control, and you can go like you make a decision, you can just reverse time and kind of do something different, or maybe you learn something so you can kind of react different. So it's not like in an RPG you make the decision and like it's solidified, like you can't change it. Like no, in Life is Strange, like you can.
Sure.
But I mean, the big decisions usually you can't.
Okay.
There are like
that makes sense. Like this, yeah.
And you know, we're following the suit, except this is something you'll like. We're not episodic anymore. The whole game's out.
At once. Okay.
And you know what? I think the episodic trend is come and gone.
I think it
Telltale kind of invented this new way to deliver games.
And especially with those, their games are almost. I mean, they are almost like they're playable TV shows. In a lot of, and I don't mean that in a disregarding way or a disrespectful way. That kind of
They're
sort of
narrative
makes sense.
driven.
Yeah,
It's
they're
not
very much
gameplay,
narrative
you know?
driven. And
I'm not being like, you never hear anyone from a Life is Strange review going, the gameplay is great.
Of
like,
course.
It's just walking around and hitting A or B. And
then, yeah.
So in True Colors, just one last thing, like her powers is she's an empath. So kind of like the situations like this is one of the situations in the game. I'll sort of leave some context out, but these 2 characters are fighting, and one of them is really mad. And Alex Chen, she's the main character, like she like absorbs his anger and she becomes exactly as angry as he is. So she just rushes him and beats the shit out of him.
Jesus.
So like his anger gets channeled
Transferred
into
to
her,
her, yeah.
and so it's like that with fear. I've only seen it with fear.
It's like
and
what's her
anger.
name? And it's Mantis, right? Like Mantis, and
Yeah, but like
she just reads it,
on a very extreme level.
Yeah.
Like she can read it,
and she
but
takes
she
on the
also
emotions.
like absorbs it. So she
Yeah.
like this. Another thing is like again, this is kind of a little spoilery for end of chapter 1, but I will not give characters. This one character is stuck in a situation where he's like super afraid.
Yeah.
And like you have to save him.
Yeah.
And like she like essentially like links with him to know why he's afraid. It's a kid, so she's seeing what he's seeing.
Yeah.
So she understands it better, so she can help him out of the situation. It's kind of cool.
All right.
And then finally, I've kind of mentioned this before, but I've been watching the Evangelion rebuild films, and I finished it, and I fucking love this anime, man. I don't think it's your cup of tea, like maybe like a One Punch, or like even the way I think I would recommend Attack on Titan
Sure.
to you. Evangelion is like the original. So basically what these movies are is a retelling of the original series, the way the creator kind of wanted it to go
be
out.
told, yeah.
So it's not like a this takes the place of the original anime and its ending movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we're taking that base and then I'm kind of like going off in a different direction.
That
with
makes
it.
sense.
So the way I kind of see it is like the movies are the perfect good ending, and the original series and its finale movie are like the bad ending.
Okay.
The way it, like, and not in like a sort of quality. It's just like the way things kind of turn out. Like, and
Sure.
Evangelion has a lot to do with like self-worth and like depression. It's very steeped in like
That's interesting.
Not giant robots fighting aliens.
Sure. There's a
kind
lot
of
more
thing.
themes going on.
Right.
That makes sense.
But I really enjoyed you'll love this title. Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time.
Jesus Christ. I didn't know we were in Kingdom Hearts 8.7679 territory.
Like all the films are like Evangelion 1.0, and then it's like you are not, in quotes, you are enough, and then in quotes is not, so it's you are not enough in quotes. So it's
Okay.
so it's
Little
kind of
too
like
much there.
it's playing on like the themes,
Yeah,
but it's
sure.
just like, what are these titles?
What is happening? Yeah.
And that's
All right.
what I have been up to.
Should we get into a little BLGL? BACGL?
Yeah, BCGL. Hold on, let me get my doc. So this idea kind of spawned, I don't know if you guys know, but they're making a Black Canary movie on HBO Max. It was announced probably,
It's in development.
It's in development. A few weeks ago, they kind of announced this one, and I was like, fuck. I want to kind of like, how can I make a podcast about this? And I kind of went to Trey and I was like, would you want to talk about like the Black Canary movie? And he's like, nah, not really. And then I was kind of like, wait, Black Canary is my favorite DC character. And I'm like, wait, Trio's favorite DC character is also getting an HBO
The old
Max thing.
GLGL.
Green Lantern Corp has been floating around the ether for...
Well, so there was the movie that's technically still not canceled, which is the Green Lantern Corps. Or is the Green Lantern Corps. And then this show, I'm sorry. That one might just be Green Lantern. This is the Green Lantern Corps is the idea. So, yeah, I don't know exactly what's happening. I mean, we have casting for this, so this is definitely going ahead.
Right. This has been further in the ether than the Black Canary stuff.
Absolutely.
But we're going to talk about what we know about these projects and what we want from these projects. Again,
Absolutely.
Trio's favorite DC character is Green Lantern. My favorite is Black Canary. And we just figured, why not talk about them both? They're both going to
Since
be
they
on
both
HBO.
have big projects coming up,
Right.
it seems like.
Both on HBO Max. The Snyder Cut has kind of like paved this new way for like DC content on HBO Max.
Yeah, they know they
Titans
can
is
do
on there.
even
Doom
Titans,
Patrol.
all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
What do we know about Black Canary? One, Journey Smollett is returning to play Dinah Lance from Birds of Prey. So, Trio, my first question to you, how did you like Journey's portrayal of Black Canary in Birds of Prey, a film you did not really enjoy?
I barely remember it. Like,
Okay.
I didn't feel really Black Canary-y to me. It didn't feel like, it just felt like it was a character that could scream loud and she was a girl. Like, really, like, and then she didn't even use her power that much. And
No.
It's not even necessarily that I don't think she did, I think she did a bad job or anything. I just don't think.
You didn't see enough.
Exactly, and I don't feel like it was. I don't know a ton about Black Canary's backstory, and I don't know a ton about her origins and all that stuff. But like, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on from what I've seen her in like comic books and in Injustice and in all that stuff.
The one origin story that I feel like I don't like as much is that she starts as like a singer.
Yeah,
And that is a thing in the comics that they draw from and what Birds of Prey draws from. And I don't really like that per se. I like when she's just like a vigilante. There's no like singing background. But I feel like they're like that was the setup for this Black Canary, like that she was a singer and then, that plays into the canary call and stuff like that. And I think they just use that as like a jumping off point, especially since Birds of Prey is an ensemble film. It's not really about Black Canary. But what I would compare this to is like when people go, do you like Jared Leto's Joker in Suicide Squad? A film that wasn't really about the Joker.
no, absolutely. But
You know?
I guess even like the other, but at least with the Joker,
And Birds of Prey was like, come on, it's really about Harley Quinn.
No, it
Like,
absolutely
it's
is.
focused around her. I mean, it's
but I get like
Birds
another
of
thing
Prey
that
and the
annoys me.
Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
Who thought that title was good? Like, I actually think it's an interesting title, but it's too long. And that's why they changed it just to Birds of Prey. But, anyways, the one thing that annoys me about when I see a character in a movie, if you took her and showed her to me outside of the context of that movie, just in her costume or whatever, and you were like, which DC character is this? Do you think you'd be able to guess that she was Black Canary?
No.
I wouldn't at all. And I guess, like, even with, like, Jared Leto's Joker, you could put him in front of me, I'd be like, well, he's supposed to be the Joker.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Joker's like kind of
yeah, it's
too
kind of hard
iconic.
not to like
oh,
but not even too
okay.
iconic, but like even as like someone like I just felt like her look wasn't there for me. Her whole idea, like I just, and again, I could say this to like other people on that movie. You didn't get enough to give me any really sort of feeling about that character
The recognizable Black Canary branding isn't there
at all.
I'm saying that.
Yeah, no,
not
yeah, exactly. No, I know. I'm
Yeah.
just
Right.
I'm
You're-
emphasizing.
You're correct.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I guess ultimately kind of bugs me about that movie.
But I do think Journey, for what it's worth, I'm not really too familiar with a lot of
I think
her
she could do a
work.
great job.
She did a good job.
She was given what she was given, and she
right.
did. Yeah.
Again, it's an ensemble film. It's not all about her. You can only do so much.
Sure.
Next up, what we know. Misha Green, showrunner and writer of Lovecraft County, which is an HBO show, will be involved in the project.
Yeah, that was recently canceled, unfortunately. I heard it was pretty
And
good.
and it won awards.
No,
Isn't
apparently
that
it's
crazy?
pretty-
Journey Smollett was in that.
Yeah.
What's his face who just died was in that.
Michael K. Williams?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in that.
Yeah.
Jonathan Majors was in that. Yeah,
Right.
that won awards and it got canceled. I was
No,
like,
I did actually hear good things. There was I saw some like really cool concept designs and creature designs out of it, and I thought it looked
Yeah.
pretty interesting. It's all about like the Cthulhu stuff, right? Yeah.
That's Lovecraft.
Lovecraft, yeah.
So Misha Green, there's no role for her yet. She's involved in the project, no role.
Well, she's the show. What do you mean? Like she's the showrunner so far.
She's
like,
the showrunner and writer of Lovecraft County.
Gotcha.
What she is with the Birds of Prey project has not been announced.
Sure,
She's
I
just
would.
involved.
I think it would probably be safe to assume though she's probably writing / maybe producing.
Sure.
Would be my guess.
I think that's a good
Yeah.
role. And then one of my other things was Green and Smollett were together on Lovecraft County, which was canceled. And Green is also a writer on Sons of Anarchy, Heroes, and Spartacus, among other shows. So that's her
Only one I'm
credentials.
really familiar out of that is Sons of Anarchy. I've watched a few seasons of that, which was really good.
And obviously, it's a TV show. She's not writing the whole thing.
of course,
she's
she's writing episodes. Yeah, interesting.
Going down the list, Susan Kroll's Kroll & Co. Entertainment, which produced Birds of Prey, will produce this film as well. Kroll & Co. is a new company with only Birds of Prey under their belt, but more upcoming projects on the way that are announced or in pre-production.
Woo, no, I'm kidding. No, that's interesting. Again,
Yeah.
I wish there was more to go on than just Birds of Prey from them.
Yeah,
But,
like the other films, the other stuff that's in their wheelhouse are probably Warner Brothers films, but not comic book films.
Interesting.
This project is very far off given Green's current schedule involving the thriller with Jennifer Lopez called The Mother, and she's also attached to direct Tomb Raider 2.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I also didn't know Tomb Raider 2 was like kind of going
That was
anywhere.
that was I think that came up like a year or two ago.
And Journey Smollett is also starring in 2 films, Escape from Spiderhead from Netflix and a Bad Robot production, Lou. And obviously this will premiere on HBO Max. That's what we know. That's like it's like kind of a whole lot of nothing with just some names attached to it.
Absolutely.
And obviously
we don't really have any story deets yet or
Black
anything
Canary
like that.
is established in Birds of Prey. So what do I, as a Black Canary fan, what do I want? First off, it's got to be very different from Arrow's Black Canary, which it already is. So I don't think there's a worry there. You know, there's only one. Well, actually, it's a lie. Black Canary's in the Birds of Prey CW show.
That she is.
But in Arrow,
She was also in the old fucking. Have you ever seen the old
yeah.
90s, like the 2000s Birds of Prey show?
that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said the movie. Oh,
No,
my
CW
apologies.
Birds of Prey.
Yeah, that like really old show.
Yeah, with
Oh my
Oracle.
God.
And,
Yeah, it's so
yeah.
funny.
Yeah. Yeah, Catwoman's in that, I think, and she returns in the Crisis stuff.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. That's what I was talking about. But
Funny.
obviously, like, I think everyone can agree that Black Canary was really fucked in Arrow. The fact that they killed her off and then they brought Katie Cassidy back to do like Black Siren, which is cool, but like I feel like it was kind of like they realized they like should not
They
have
just
killed.
shit the bed with that. Like, yeah, what?
Right. And it's not, and the relationship between Oliver and her is not the comic book origin. Like, they were kind of in a relationship since high school. They didn't really meet as vigilantes. So again, I think it's easy to differentiate yourself from that.
No, I think that's the way to go. I feel like they won't introduce him because they'd be like, that might take it away from her spotlight or like her story. Like, I feel like putting in a type of love interest I want them to do it. I think it's
a good follow-up for what I
Yeah.
want. So what I think they should do is Green Arrow should be introduced similar to how Batman and Catwoman meet and interact.
Yeah.
Batman is doing something, and Catwoman just happens to be there
yeah.
and fucking around with him.
Yeah.
So I imagine that Black Canary is doing something,
Yeah.
following a lead to somebody, and Green Arrow happens to be doing the same thing as her. And that's how they're meeting. Like they don't know who each other is until
Yeah.
the end. And they meet and they like eventually, they're kind of annoyed with each other at first, and then they kind of grow to like each other and they start flirting and and I'm like, I think Green Arrow has to be in this because Black Canary is nothing without, no offense, it's sort of nothing without the Green Arrow.
And I even think Green Arrow gains a lot. Like I think it's almost on the same page reverse. Like I feel like their couple
is like essential.
is a very essential part to their story, like to their characters at that point. So I agree, and I want him to be not the Oliver Queen we see on the CW.
And again, nothing, and I don't think he will.
No, he won't. And
You
I mean,
know?
that's the first time we've ever seen Oliver Queen presented like that. Was the CW I mean, he was Bruce Wayne with a bow and arrow in that show.
Yeah, and
truly.
I think what Arrow did was awesome.
And it had to be done, I think, to get people in on that for sure. Yeah.
Because Oliver in the comics is in Injustice.
He's much more
quippy, very jokey.
Yeah,
still the same
happy-go-lucky, yeah.
billionaire, but isn't brooding like Bruce Wayne.
No, he's
Whereas,
enjoying his time.
Yeah, Oliver Queen comes back from
The island.
what's the
I
island
can't
called?
remember.
Purgatory. And
It's been so
Lian
fucking
Yu.
long. Yeah, Lian Yu.
Comes back from Lian Yu and then like fucking is doing the salmon ladder.
Yeah.
Over
No, absolutely.
and
It's
over
just
and
every
over and over.
episode. Yeah.
So yeah, and I want and again, just I said it, but I want their names to remain a mystery through the most of the film. I don't want them to
agree.
know who each other is. I think that's like again going back to the Batman Catwoman relationship. They don't know each other, Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne until
way
a
later.
while.
Yeah.
The fishnets, more comic accurate costume has to.
I mean, just any type of
give me the
image,
leather
like
jacket.
recognizable imagery.
You don't need
Yeah.
the full fishnet, but I like how Injustice kind of incorporates
Yeah,
the
like,
fishnet
yeah.
into the costume design. It doesn't need to be like a fully sexualized thing, but like it's Black Canary.
I'm just
She
gonna
wears
say this,
fishnets. Come on,
guys. I'm sorry, but superheroes, man or woman, have been sexualized all the time, and that's kind of the point. Like, I don't mean like when I'm watching a superhero, they should be top tier. They should, like, even as a dude.
You see Henry Cavill's dick in that Superman suit?
Amazing. But like even him when he's coming out of the fucking ocean and he's ripped out of his mind, that's what a superhero should look like. I'm sorry. Like they should be like bombastic and just like the peak of human capability. Like I felt like one thing that
and
annoyed
Black
me about
Canary,
Black,
she's a fighter, man. And
and she uses her
legs.
her sexuality to catch people off guard. Like that's the
Yeah.
idea. Like they're like, why? I think he mentions it in a comic. He's like, why the fuck do you wear fishnets all the time? He's like, to distract the shit out of the men while I beat the shit out of them, basically. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like it's just for like, yeah, she looks hot as shit. She does.
and it's
But,
it's
like,
an iconic look for her.
it is. That's
like,
what
at this
they
point.
looked like. And but again, I'm sorry. Imagine if you took Batman and he wasn't muscular. Like he
Or
wasn't
imagine
like
you took Batman, took away the cowl,
took away the cowl, or like even just
or like, and it's like a domino mask.
or just like made him just this really skinny looking like dweeb. Like that doesn't work for that character.
Yeah.
And
I'm
I don't
fine
know.
with Birds of Prey kind of like doing something different with their outfits. And like,
all of them. I mean, the way Huntress was wearing like a trash bag suit, like I'm sorry, it just was like I didn't I
sometimes
get it,
I don't like when high fashion sort of comes into things.
but it wasn't even like high fat. Like I think
It's
they
like
were
high
I think
that you
truly
just don't
they were
like it.
doing it. That they were like, we don't want these to be sexualized at all. We want to put her in the most unform-fitting outfit we can. So let's give her a trash bag for a
It's
suit.
funny though. Harley Quinn's pretty sexualized.
Yeah, to a
I mean,
degree.
I
Yeah,
mean, she's a sexualized character, and I'm not saying she needs to be sexualized, but like
no.
she's supposed to look like kind of attractive. Like that's the point, right? You
Yeah.
watch a movie and like you want the people to look good.
But then
You don't want people to be ugly.
like, and of course, and I think it's the idea of like, well, you're creating this unattainable
Stereotype.
standard or something like that, and it's like, but like,
I get
this
it,
is
but
a
like,
fantasy world,
and this
They're
is also
supposed to be,
not like kids aren't watching.
no,
Birds
but
of Prey
and also
Black
like
Canary.
again, like no one ever speaks to it about the male characters, like, which is fine. I don't care.
And
I'm
I
not
think this
sitting
is
here
good
going
to bring
be like,
up for a character who's like
Very
very
sexual.
sexualized in the leg
Yeah.
region. Like,
But
not
even just
necessarily
in her
boobs.
outfit, she is. Yes, you can see her curves. You can see
Right.
like you, and
Well,
again,
actually, I'll take that back. She does have kind of like big boobs. Like,
No, she
look
definitely-
at
I mean,
Justice League Unlimited. Like, come
that's
on,
what I mean.
Come on,
I'm
she
sorry.
looks great. And she doesn't have fishnets in that.
No, she doesn't.
But she
again,
looks like Black Canary.
That is part of her character. She uses that. Literally, she talks about that in her combat and how she takes on criminals because it is a distract. Like they're too busy ogling you to fucking realize that you're a formidable fighter and can beat the living shit out of these guys.
And
But, yeah.
speaking of what Black Canary can do, more control and more use of the Canary Cry.
Yeah.
Obviously, Birds of Prey kind of sets up that like they assemble the Birds of Prey, and she's a vigilante now. So that probably means she can use the Canary Cry a little bit more. I know that was like a big gripe of yours that like she uses it
once
and gets knocked out, and then she uses it when she's singing, like the frequency hits it that she breaks glass, which I like.
Yeah,
but
just again, it's just like use your powers. Like,
right.
What do you mean?
My next one, possible expansion on the Black Canary legacy. So they set up in Birds of Prey that like her mother is the first Black Canary. I would feel like
she Laurel Lance in this?
She's
she's
Dinah Lance.
And Laurel is the first. Is Dinah and Laurel both a Black Canary at
No,
different times?
So
I thought
her
it was
full
Dinah
name,
Laurel Lance. Yeah,
right?
Okay.
In Arrow, they get rid of Dinah and they name her Laurel Lance.
Yeah.
And then there's Dinah Drake, in Arrow, and like they just switch the names up. But like it's usually not Laurel. It's
That's what I
usually
thought.
Dinah Lance.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I had some villain ideas. I kind of was like Googling. I'm like, who Black Canary villains? And it's like obviously usually like Black Canary's villains will be Green Arrow villains.
Yeah.
My biggest one, Count Vertigo. Let's do the
That'd
more
be cool,
comic book Count Vertigo, where he is like a count of like his nation, and he's like comes over to Star City or wherever they are, and he has like a mob, but like he's a meta. Like an Arrow, like the drug Vertigo creates the Vertigo thing. I'm like, let's do full Count
like
Vertigo. Yeah. And then I also had Cheshire. She's like the Cheshire Cat.
Yep.
Copperhead, which I think would be interesting.
She's in a Batman game for a minute. I think she's in Arkham Origins.
Parasite.
Yeah. That's good.
From the
He's
Superman.
more of a Batman villain, though. Or no, I'm sorry, Superman villain.
But
right?
he like absorbs powers. I
Yeah.
think that would be interesting. And then Silver Banshee, who's a Supergirl villain.
Is she like a screaming type of person, too?
Yes.
Don't do that. Don't Iron Man.
Don't listen to me.
No, that's fine. No, I don't mean just in the way of like they don't do it too often anymore, but they still do it every once in a while where the villain is just the good guy's powers. Like they're just fighting themselves basically.
Shang-Chi was basically that.
That's what I was about to say.
I mean, like it's kind of hard to get around.
No, it's really. I mean, yeah, but
we need a reference to Savant from the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Since they kind of set up, there's some loose threads there.
Yeah.
And my final thing, we need to focus on the fight choreography, considering Black Canary is a melee martial arts fighter.
yeah.
Especially with those
Very
legs.
well trained, yeah.
Especially with those legs.
Yeah.
I want to see some like, and that's one thing I'll give Birds of Prey credit. That first fight when she walks out of Sionis's bar, and they're like taking. I watched it today. They're taking Harley somewhere, and she's fighting and she's kicking like every dude.
I might rewatch that just to really see how I'd feel after it on a second viewing.
Yeah.
Because again, like I don't despise that movie, but like it's just it really doesn't hit a lot of the chords that it needed to for me.
Yeah.
Especially in the way I didn't like their portrayal of Black Mask a lot.
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
different.
I don't know. Like
Ewan does a good job, but it's just different.
No,
written.
yeah, I think
It's
he does a
differently
great
written.
job, but it's just I wanted more of that hardened mobster rather than this crazy, almost Joker like psychopath that we got
with high art.
Yeah, with high and
I think Birds of Prey really is affected by this high art.
and I wanted his fucking mask to be fused to his goddamn head. What are we doing here?
killed
Like-
him.
Yeah, like God. Anyways, anything else?
But that's it. I mean, anything that I said. Do you have anything that you would
No, I
want to
mean
see?
I can
as a
only
non-
echo like
as a
true.
non-fan?
Again, I'm not like I peripherally love Black Canary. I think she's a cool character, and I mean in Injustice she's great, and a lot of the comics I've read, and I love her in Justice League Unlimited.
And Deceased.
Yeah, like
When
I
she
think
becomes
she
a
becomes a
Green
Green Lantern,
which is cool.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know enough about the character to really know what I would make me get in.
I think Black Canary has really risen from a C-lister to a B or an A.
I would say that.
Like, especially within the league and like within the comics she's in, she's very secondary, but she has a very main secondary sort of role in like everything she's in. She's never just kind of there. Like in Injustice.
No,
you
she
know?
gets shit done.
In Young Justice, she's
No.
a main leaguer. Like
No, I think she
really
has the chops to be a very good, like a big character.
right.
I would agree.
And alongside Green Arrow, like she can't exist without him.
And I even
it's not that she needs a man.
And I do think that goes both ways. Even with Green, like I guess Green Arrow can, but like
they complement each
they
other.
complement each other so well.
Yeah.
And like that. Even just like the little, like, hey, little bird, like all that's like it's great stuff.
Look at that statue.
I mean, it's great. It really is.
The pretty bird stuff.
It's like you can tell that, like, you know, that's supposed to be and stuff like that. It's good. But I guess we can move on to the old Green Lantern Corps.
Let's jump into the Green Lanterns.
All right. So we don't know much about this either. So far, it's definitely, like we said in earlier, a little bit further along in its development. The show's main lineup will include the characters such as Alan Scott, the original Green Lantern, Mr. Guy Gardner himself. By the way, if he doesn't have a bowl cut, I'm not watching the show. Also, we got...
That's a want.
That's just all I'm saying. Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz, who are fairly recent additions to the canon. Actually, probably over 5 years now.
Yeah,
it's like
4 or 5
relatively new, I
Sure,
should say. Within
yeah.
the last 10 years, they were created. But yeah, so that seems to be the lineup so far. And then we got Sinestro supposedly showing up, as well as Kilowog, who's another big lantern. I mean, if this is the core, I assume we'll see... what's his name? Not Manta Ray. Not Beta Ray Bill. There's another guy, he's like a fish. He's in the first Green Lantern. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, shit. What's his fucking name? Anyway, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I mean, and the Guardians, obviously, I'm assuming will show up as well. I mean, it sucks, because I will say that that first Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds gets a lot of shit, and deservedly so for a lot of it. But the first half of that movie, when they're on Oa and everything, is really good. Like, I'm like surprised. Like, whenever I go back and watch that, I'm like, man, if they just nailed down this second act, or this third act, and didn't just have another goddamn big smoke monster, we would have it's always a big smoke, especially that's not like it could have. I think we would have gotten 2 more Green Lantern movies with Ryan, and I mean they set up Sinestro at the end of that. Like it was
that
there.
Scene with Mark Strong
and
as
Mark
Sinestro.
Strong is Sinestro.
And like does he like forge the fear ring?
Yeah,
and he puts it on and he changes
and it takes over his, and even like
Sinestro looks so good.
He
in
looks
that
so
movie.
good, and honestly, even though like Kilowog looked great. Again, all the space stuff worked very well for me in that, and then they just fucked it up when he gets back to Earth. But yeah, so far we know it's going to be an hour-long episode, an hour-long show on HBO Max, 10 episodes. It seems like what we're getting. It'll be co-written by Seth Grahame-Smith as well as Mark Guggenheim, which I'm pretty sure he's like a CW guy.
Mark Guggenheim, of Arrow fan. Yeah, he's an Arrow. Of Arrow, there's an Arrowverse bigwig. Honestly, probably the Feige of the Arrowverse.
It was him and that. Wasn't there another dude that got like Me Too'd too? That was like a big writer. He started with a K. I'm pretty sure like Simon Kins.
No,
I don't want to say anyway, but I'm pretty sure there was another big writer on that.
I was like Jeff Johns.
No, so yeah, and Graham Smith will be serving as showrunner for it as well.
Do you know what Graham Smith has done in the past?
I don't.
Okay.
I think he has been kind of attached to a lot of these DC properties, as far as I can tell. But yeah, it's supposed to premiere on HBO Max next year at the earliest, I'd say. I mean, they haven't even nailed down everyone. We only have one person cast, and that is Guy Gardner, and Finn Wittrock will be playing him. I guess you might know him from American Horror Story, I think, is something big he's known on. I feel like he might have been on Archie, too, and stuff. Yeah, Archie, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the CW show?
Yep. And,
Riverdale.
No, I was like, that's not what it's called, but yeah, it is an Archie show.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah. And then that's really it so far. The casting is still ongoing. I'm very curious to see who they get for these other Lanterns. Again, it sucks they wasted Mark Strong on Sinestro. Honestly, they could bring him back, and I wouldn't even care. I'm not even kidding. Like he was really, really good. I'm curious to see.
What's Mark Strong take on that movie? Has he talked about it?
I haven't really asked. I haven't asked him.
I haven't asked him. Yeah.
No, I haven't really seen anything
I'll
much
call
about
him
it.
up after this.
Like I know Ryan Reynolds makes fun of it all the time and stuff like that, and deservedly so. But yeah, no, I don't know much. I mean, I imagine putting on that makeup every day was probably not the most fun.
It was all
thing.
practical?
It looked, it looked it to me. I could have sworn it was.
Okay.
But again, he just looked so good. He looked so on point. I'm curious to see, as far as we know, Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart are not going to be in this. And that's what leads me to believe that movie is still happening.
So that's what I wanted to ask about, like, the wants. Like, what I would want, and I guess there's that kind of A-tier list of Green Lanterns. Alan Scott, Guy Gardner, Jon Stewart, Hal Jordan, and Kyle Rayner.
There it is.
There's the 5.
Yeah.
Like,
And
you
then now
kind
we-
of have to have those guys. Alan Scott, I think, is more on the end list of that because he is like the Silver Age, but I feel like
And he's not even really like that Green Lantern. Like
yeah.
it's a completely different Green Lantern from like what
But I feel like almost referencing him or him being in the show and not
so it's
necessarily being a Green Lantern.
There is another thing. Well, it's confirmed that this is going to span years. So we will
cool.
see Alan Scott. He did I not mention him? He is
No, you
confirmed
did.
to be in
yeah,
this.
Yeah.
So
and Simon Badge, Jessica Cruz. Am I missing anyone?
no, those are the only human.
I feel
ones.
like the inclusion of Jessica. Who's the Green Lantern with the cool glasses and she's black and she has like cool hair.
Oh, she's like the far side. I actually really don't know much
She's
about that.
kind of cool looking.
No, it's a very cool design.
Yeah,
I like
and
it a lot.
I'm like, I feel like they have to bring in one of a female Green Lantern, and there
it
is
seems
a
like
female alien Green Lantern
Yeah.
in Justice League.
Yeah.
The show.
Yep.
The
yeah,
animated
yeah.
show.
I think that's Jade. Or no.
She kind of looks like Sinestro with like pulled back black short hair.
Interesting. I'm trying to remember who she is. It vaguely sounds familiar, but
Hold on. Well, keep going.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with John and Hal, because I mean, I feel like Hal is so important to the Green Lantern mythos, and like,
Yeah.
and just to kind of go off with nothing, I think they're gonna have to mention them, and I think this is going to be set further in the future, and maybe we do get a setup for John and Hal in this, but it seems like they are going to be still in their own movie as far as we can tell. And I hope they do a good job. I want Hal Jordan.
Fatma 2 is her name.
Oh, that's right. I do remember her. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's Sinestro's daughter, isn't it? I could have sworn I think that might be it, but I could be completely wrong though. Otherwise, so far we know. Yeah, it's premiering. My guess is probably early 2023. That's my best guess. But I mean, what I want from this, I want it to be in space most of the time. I truly
Makes
do.
sense.
I don't think it needs to be. I want as little Earth as possible. I want to be seeing some cool new alien worlds. I want to see them going on these different adventures. And I don't know. I feel like there has to be an overarching story, and I don't necessarily want it to be a week to week mystery. But I don't know how they're going to do it with this idea of they're spanning through time, because it's supposed to start off with Alan Scott in the 40s when he gets his lantern ring, and they seem to be going with the newest iteration where he's a gay man and he like.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's a thing.
in the New 52. They interpreted him as a gay man, homosexual man. I finished off homo at the end there.
I understand what gay means. That's thanks, Drew.
Really? Can I explain? No.
You want me to get into
But like, I think in that, like, he's on a train and there's like a crash and his fiance dies and he finds the lantern and that's what gives him his powers. But again,
so he is straight at first.
no. He's
you're talking about the original Silver Age.
No, I'm talking about this is the New 52
Oh,
iteration.
fiance, right? He can have a male
fiance. Yes,
sorry.
correct. No, it's okay. And like, yeah, the lantern I think presents itself to him, but again, he's not. His lantern doesn't use the emotional spectrum like the Green Lanterns. His isn't running off willpower; it's running off the green. Actually, what like Swamp Thing controls and stuff like that. And they'll probably get rid of this, but like one of his weaknesses is like wood. Like if you get a wooden baseball bat, you can beat the shit out of him and he can't do anything. So it was again very 40s like. We don't know. I don't know. He can't take on wood. That's his kryptonite.
Shit, the fucking wood.
But it's funny. They even in Kingdom Come they reference that they're like they're talking to Alan Scott and he's like Alan, why can you contact the other Lanterns? He's like, my ring doesn't work like that. It's not the same. Like he kind of goes into like how like
I thought they were making fun of him for the
no
wood.
oh no yeah you can't fucking you got wood pal.
Shit.
But I want him in his goofy silly ass original costume really bad, which I don't know if they'll do because in the New 52 it's more of like it's not like the exact Green Lantern thing.
I don't
but
think I've seen the New 52 Green Scott or
Alan Scott. Green Scott, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll have to look that up because I don't obviously I know what he looks like.
Yeah, and so depending on the time, I don't know. Like I would love to see Sinestro's fall, like and his kind of turn to the Yellow Lanterns, or I'm curious if he'll just be a Yellow Lantern and have started the Sinestro Corps at that point.
I kind of hope he doesn't.
Yeah, I would like to.
I would like
but
to,
again,
I
don't
would like
think
to
you can
learn
show
more.
that fall without Hal Jordan.
Okay.
Like that's what that's what confuses me about this. If they're not involved, what are they doing? So and like it doesn't seem like they're
They're
casting
off
for
in
them,
space on an important mission.
and that's fine. But it just it makes me wonder where we're set up in narrative wise then, because if
right.
in order
where
for that
the
to
DCU is this?
yeah,
Where's Zack Snyder's?
sure, and like
what about that Jon Stewart?
And
He
I mean,
did set up a Jon Stewart.
he did, but I guess technically it never. I mean, it exists. We'll not even get into that, but
It just gets messy.
it does.
Just like everything DC.
I would like to see that. I want to see a lot on the emotional spectrum and all the different Lantern Corps and like how they
So
interact
like, what
and
do you
stuff
mean
like.
by the emotional spectrum?
So the emotional spectrum is like basically Green Lantern's ring runs off of willpower, right? You have the Star Sapphires whose rings and powers run off of love, and then you have the Orange
Why
Lantern.
is Carol Ferris evil though?
Because they
Because
are
the
the
Star
Star
Sapphire.
Sapphires aren't like great. I think they start out as more evil because they're just kind of they're kind of more looking out for themselves. They're not as all
Love.
yeah, but they're not as altruistic for some reason as like the Lantern Corps, it seems. But then you have the Orange Lantern Corps, which is actually just one guy, and it's avarice, greed, and the idea is he doesn't want anyone else getting the orange power. But he actually can summon the old Orange Lanterns from that are still contained. They're like almost power is still contained within the only orange battery, and like he can call them out to help him, which is kind of interesting. But then you have the Indigo Corps, which I think it's compassion. Is their emotional
Blue is
spectrum. Blue is hope, which they aren't. They are technically the most powerful Lantern Corps, but only in conjunction with Green Lanterns.
What does that mean?
Because because hope is nothing without the will to
Willpower.
enact it. Which is like, so like, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Shit.
And I was like, okay, that's interesting. There's not
Yeah.
many Blue Lanterns.
Flash becomes a Blue Lantern.
He does.
Yeah.
There's the Black Corps, which is death. And everyone who's in that is dead.
And the White Corps.
And the White Corps is life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's basically, I think Kyle Rayner becomes a White Lantern at one point because he goes through like this journey of collecting all the rings. I would love to see the White Lanterns.
The famous Hal Jordan
Of him with all of them.
rings.
Yeah. But
like,
yeah, I
"Yeah."
want to see more on this. I think a great antagonist for this would be the Red Lanterns,
Which are Rage.
and
So you
once you get that on,
So you want Atrocitus leading them?
I think so. Yeah.
Does he lead them, or is he just a Red Lantern?
No, he leads them. He's the first person to conjure a Red Lantern because because of the rage he felt that the Green Lanterns abandoned him and his family.
Yeah,
And,
I was like, isn't his planet destroyed? Or
yeah,
something?
and like I guess the Guardians did nothing to help. So yeah, he starts the Red Lantern Corps, and the idea with those rings is you can't take them off once you're on, like, and they just like the rage is almost blinding. Like you can't get rid of it. I think Guy actually becomes a Red Lantern at one point. So does Supergirl, actually. She becomes a Red Lantern.
That is one thing I want to see so bad is Red Lantern Supergirl. Because
It'll be really
Supergirl
cool.
is a character stooped in her, like, in her rage. Like, she's much more emotional than Superman.
Well, much more like she's much more aware of the destruction of Krypton, even too.
Right,
Like,
and
like
it's
she got to
because
see.
she is like of age to understand like what happened to Krypton
Yeah.
and like what she's lost and how that like enrages her, and like they kind of dip into that in Injustice. And even the Supergirl CW show dips into the fact that like she just gets mad when she fights.
Yeah.
Like when she the first time it happens is in like season 1 and she's fighting Red Tornado and she just like fucking is yelling at him and like eye beaming him down, and like the theme they have for when she gets mad is really like awesome, and I'm just like I
would
like
love to see us
mad
go a bit
Supergirl.
deeper, yeah.
Like, and they don't really do it all too much in Supergirl, which kind of sucks.
Sure.
She's more like a Superman but a girl, which isn't her character.
Yeah.
Which,
You need a little bit more than that. Yeah.
right. She's a very different person from him.
Absolutely.
But anyway,
And other than that, I'm not thinking completely, but I want some practical costumes of some kind. I want to feel like they are wearing something.
I think that's
I'm
tricky.
curious to
I
see,
think that's
like-
really tricky.
Like, that's why I don't think it could be completely practical. I think it's like a bit of touch-ups at the, like, you give them
Because-
some type of practical piece. Because, I mean, it is made from willpower, their suit. That's the idea. It comes from their ring.
I think the animation for Green Lanterns and when they're wearing like cloth looks good, but I don't think that necessarily would like translate.
No, that's you know what I
think
really
that's why
think would be
the Green Lantern movie did what they did with the CGI suits. I don't think those look bad.
I don't think they look as awful as people I feel
I
like
think
like
it's
to.
just, I think people just like to rag on the fact that they're CGI.
They are all CGI, yeah. You know what I really like is his suit in the original Injustice. I think like that something like a little bit more armored, a little like you kind of have maybe some fabric more going up the arms and stuff, but like his chest piece is more armored out. He's got like the willpower running like kind of coursing through the suit and like emanating. I think there's something really cool you can do. And for God's sakes, give me those fucking white gauntlets.
The white gloves do kind of like
it's iconic.
It's a look.
Yeah, it is.
And it's like the fishnets with the black Canary,
like
it's like it really like delineates this like a look to the characters.
It does.
Do
And
they all wear white gauntlets?
not all of them.
I don't think Jon Stewart does.
No, he doesn't. He usually his is a lot more simpler. His costume.
And he doesn't wear a domino mask.
No, because he doesn't. He
and
wants
Guy
people to know
Gardner
who he is.
doesn't either.
No.
Yeah, it's only Hal Jordan who does.
Hal Jordan, yeah, you're right. 'Cause I think that kind of comes from the fact of like he was made back in the time where the the
Jessica
identities
Cruz has the Green Lantern thing on her eye, which is cool.
That is cool, and I don't know if that's necessarily to I guess hide her identity or more of like a just part of her suit. I don't really know much about Jessica Cruz to be quite honest.
Simon.
No,
Yeah,
I know
they're Rebirth, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
They're like I said, relatively new compared to what's.
Which
I
is
know the
kinda
idea
cool.
with her is she's like I think she has like really bad anxiety, and like that's kind of part of her. Like,
in Justice League versus the Fatal Five, that's like a big.
Yeah.
When they introduce her, like she's really like anxious and shit.
And then I'm pretty Simon Baz is a Muslim man as well. Like that's a big part of his.
I have to give DC some credit. They've made a lot better new characters than Marvel has.
Yeah, and I feel like they kind of and
look at like Blue Beetle.
Whereas like I don't necessarily even know much. Like I've never read many of these new characters, but I know them.
And like I'm not super PC, but they are people of color. All these like new iterations of characters.
Yeah.
Like look at Jaime Reyes like as Blue Beetle. I'm like, I think that's the superior version of Blue Beetle. Like Ted Core Blue Beetle is such a different vibe.
Well, yeah, he's just like a spy, basically, right? I'm pretty confident he doesn't even really have any superpowers.
You know what's cool? In Injustice, him and Booster Gold are in a relationship.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
like, that is
they're
funny.
both gay.
Interesting.
I was like, that's
and like the comic book, yeah,
that's
funny.
Yeah.
I mean, not fun. Like, yeah, it's fun, interesting. No,
that's
a way to
they're
go
like
about it.
Best buds.
Yeah,
but like, I'm like that makes
there was
sense.
like a booster. There was a movie floating around forever. The Booster Gold, but now we're getting the Blue Beetle on HBO Max with Jaime Reyes. Did they cast him or did? I feel like we saw that they did, didn't we?
Is it the kid from Fear the Walking Dead?
I thought.
No, it's not. It's not. But they did cast him. Yes,
that's what I thought.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Warner Brothers officially cast the lead. Zolo Marijuana. I can't. That's
a name.
It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, going like it's cool how they're like introduced like a Green Lantern Corps. Like it had like in my opinion, I think you've nailed a lot of like your wants, but my want is like they have to like have a lot of them. The aliens, like it has to be a core. It can't just be fucking 4 of them.
No, and I think they will. Like, I think you're gonna see Oa. I think you're gonna see all of that stuff. You're gonna see a bunch of lanterns going on in the background. No, I think you're gonna see a lot of them. I think you're gonna see a lot of the main. I mean, Kilowog is a big one. If I can remember the fish guy, I don't know why.
The round dude.
Round dude.
He looks like a.
I want to see the planet Green Lantern. There's literally a planet that is a Green Lantern. I think there's so much to dig into in the Green Lantern mythos that they could easily pull from. Yeah. And I think either they go... Truthfully, I think, if we're being realistic, I think Sinestro Corps should be the first.
So, you're going to hate me. Snyderverse or no? Do you want this to be in the Snyderverse canon?
See, that's what's confusing me about all of this.
Yeah, it's really confusing.
I don't know where it's all set in relation to each other. I don't necessarily not want it, but like I don't think
like what if you got what in the green?
Sorry, I'm a little hungry.
Oh, was that your stomach?
Yeah.
Oh my god. What if you got what was his name? Carr was his last name. The guy he cast for Jon Stewart. What if you got Jon Stewart as that actor?
I mean, that's fine. Again, like I have no.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I have no connection to that guy since we didn't really see much of him. But like, yeah, that'd be cool. I'm fine with that. Like, like if he's a good actor and he does great as Jon Stewart, I don't mind at all. And again, I'm more of a Hal Jordan camp kind of guy. And I just think his story is very intricate, like I said, to the Green Lantern kind of mythology, and I hope they treat it all very well. And you know what? So far, I'm excited. I have faith. So we shall see.
Yeah, I have faith that the Black Canary show will be good.
Is it a show or a movie?
It's a show.
Oh, I thought it was a movie.
Oh, excuse me. It's a movie.
I thought so. Yeah. Green Lantern. Yeah.
And a lot of people, like I follow a few like Black Canary pages on Twitter. A lot of people were asking for this. I think Warner Brothers heard the fans again.
Oh, that's good.
Because like there were a lot of movements where like people wanted like Black Canary movie on HBO Max. Like I saw that for months. So when I saw it, I was like, oh shit. I'm like, I wasn't one of those people like tweeting that, but like I'm like I knew like there was like a hashtag. There was a one.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this Green Lantern project has been flown around a while. Let's fucking see it, man.
I mean, they remember the original slate they announced. Like original.
Yeah.
That was Green Lantern, I think, was
Green
supposed to come out
Lantern
like
Corp
2
was on
years
there.
ago. Like
Yeah.
it was like, and yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy to see where we've come. But is there anything else on Green Lantern or the Black Canary that you would like to discuss?
Not at all. I think we hit it all, Trey.
I agree. Well, guys, thank you so much if you've been watching live with us on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network. We very much appreciate you spending time with us. You can find this podcast everywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network. We are on all your favorite social media. Just search at Delco Nerds. We have a website, delconerdnetwork.com, where we post our podcast. If you want to go download it there, you can go straight to the source. And we also have some other fun stuff there. We have an email address, delconerds@gmail.com. It's Delco Nerds, right? I'm already...
Delco Nerd Network.
Is it Delco Nerd?
No, you're right. DelcoNerds@gmail.com.
Yeah,
Sorry.
please email us there with comments, questions, or concerns. We'd be happy to respond to you. But otherwise, for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time. Pew, pew, pew.